Good morning, everyone. Today is May the 30th, and this is Trading Market Futures in 5 charts. We are taking a look at some very interesting pictures. This big bounce right off of this trend line event, right off of the 25,000 area, bouncing into regions that should be resistance. All right, that is what's happening. We've just got a relief bounce going here. A lot of things still very negative. And so, what we have to think about is what shifts can happen in the market as the day begins. Now, today we started with the YM. So, let's take a look at that. We're sitting right on this edge. We get up over 25,215, spend a little time up over there. This chart is going to bounce into its next resistance zone. We've got to think about things in terms of these bigger levels. We have a broad downside wedge that is expanding. But this 25,000 level that we broke, remember, you don't want to think about selling breakdowns here. They're going to expand your risk too much. You've got to look at the formations that say, wait a second, what's the big picture? The big picture is this is a negative formation. What is the space then? I wait for the bounces into resistance. I take it right at the resistance zone, right there. And then if it doesn't hold, I get stopped out. But it could always be something like this, where you say, wait a second, 25,000 is a big support zone. I end up fading and I move all the way down into 24,937. Well, that's, almost 70 ticks, 60, 63 ticks. And so that is something where we go, hey, I don't know if I didn't have a 63 tick stop, it's going to make me sit back. And for a moment, we're going to reevaluate whether or not that was the right trade. But see, if a chart loses a level and immediately holds it again, you can look at that and go, you know what? I'm going to try this one more time. They've just dipped too far down into my space, right? Now, it could be that it really is breaking down, but you have to take that shot if you want to be part of the bounce action event off of these critical levels. All right, the same thing happened in the ES. This move into 2776, really did think that was going to hold. It didn't. And then we watch it turn right around and get back up into the range. What do we need to do today? We need to get up over 27.92 and a quarter. And if we do, chances are we will bounce and then pull back again. There's a lot of negative pressure here. A lot of people talking about um, what is going on from the China trade. And the more noise that keeps bombarding us about what's going on with the trade war, the more it's going to sound less like signal, and the more we're going to have to focus on, wait a second, what's happening with a global slowdown? What's happening from an economic perspective over here? We just had the jobs number come out. It's on track. Things are moving right along, holding their edges. And so what we want to see is, do traders have this idea that we're going to bounce back into significant territory? Right now, I suspect that significant territory is somewhere around 2809. You can see that zone right there, but first we have to get up over 2792. That's what we're looking at there. Pullbacks, can they turn into buy zones? Absolutely. If we can get a double bottom here, yes, you can pick the bottom intraday. What is the big picture, folks? Well, if I draw this trend line and simply bring it down, you can see it touching this area, this area, this area, this area, and now this area. And so, you know, it is certainly sitting on the other side of this line. And that, if we just take a look at it from a movement perspective, that could be a shoulder, this could be a head, we could move all the way back up into these ranges. I do suspect we are range bound in general. All right, let's take a look at the NQ. This area, 7220, a big deal, right? We want to clear this history. So I will take care of that later. But you can see how important that line was here. And it still is an important zone. We are bouncing above it, but that's going to be our major support level. Take a look at the big picture, however. This big picture event is telling us that our bounces are into resistance. Now, this trend line event doesn't look quite as pretty as it does in the ES until we move it over here, right? And then it holds these levels fairly well. Again, we're on the other side of this line. We're not on the downside of the line. We're on the side of the line that says, hey, I could have support. Now, all of my mechanics show that we are setting up for a bounce zone. The problem is we're bouncing under very negative formations, so you can't chase this bounce unless you want to expand more risk. So you move up into the resistance zone, you watch it pull over, and then on that pullback into support, you've got a better shot at upside pressure, right? So either it comes back and it tests that 72.30 area, or it bounces all the way back up here into 72.75, and then it pulls back and gives you another shot at 72.44. Listen, you've got to be patient here. This is just a space to be patient. If you think to yourself, oh my gosh, it's bouncing here, I gotta take advantage of it. Not so. If you're saying to yourself, oh my goodness, it's fading, I gotta take advantage of it. Not so. You can wait for the failed retests for these short action events. And this is what I would say in general. It is what we are looking at. Bounces into fades that do not, bounces into fades that reinitiate and probably still give us deeper tests, right? The market's going to be a little messy in general. Notice, though, with this great big sell off in general, we aren't seeing big pops on the volatility events. We just aren't. And so that might say, well, you know, things could easily lift, right? So here's what we did. We tested this again, lower levels. Now take a look. This is still very negative momentum. The dollar is well above 98 this morning. So I do not anticipate this bounce action to hold with any measure. That being said, how will I know that my thoughts are wrong about what happens when we come into this 59.80 level? We will bounce, pull back, and hold the level. And so here's what we've done. We bounced up into here, pulled back, held the level, but we were already on our way into these higher zones. So it bounced again, failed to breach this resistance area, and then had a deep fade, right? So now the question is, here our MACDs turned positive. So it tells us there's buying strength underneath here. We expect it to have a higher low, but the question is the following. If buyers are holding up here, where are they moving to? So my suspicion is if we have a crossover event sitting right around here, we just engaged in a bullish bounce event right up off of this level, stops right around 58.60. That's 50 cents from where it is right now. So you want to watch for that, but you could always make it a little bit higher if the chart gets a bit choppy getting into the space. This is what I suspect is happening up over this edge, and we'll decide what's going on here. How do we know that this isn't going to hold? Well, frankly, it's not going to get past 59.30, right? 59.35. If it doesn't get past 59.35, we've got ourselves a drift back down. All right. So you want to be careful trying to pick a bottom with such negative pressure. Although there's definitely room. I mean, we are $2 above this motion. Very big deal. All right. Very, very, very big deal. Okay. Taking a look at lastly at gold, we rolled the contract into the next area. Just taking a look at this zone, you can see, you know, we'll put a guide there, right? 6-hour chart. We can see that we're still trying to buy these bottoms, right? Everybody's a little nervous. They are a little nervous. Charts are bouncing this morning, right? Dollar is holding a little bit higher, but we're a little landlocked. Is this a landlocked space? I think so, right? If we take a look at this zone, we can see that we're fairly landlocked. This could be some sort of move that takes us right back up into 91. If you read the blog, you'll notice that I said, hey, listen, we're going to head right back up into 1290, 1291, and then we're going to fade into a higher low. And that is what we've got. Above 1280, long action. Below 1280, you know we're going to investigate these places. Let me just put the MACD template up here, and you're going to see that we are essentially landlocked, right? Very near the zero line, underneath the moving average, but, that line hasn't been a specific line of import. It really has broken through it because it's flat. and there's no specific pressure here. What we do see, because we've got the contract roll, is the build of volume. And the volume is a bit more negative than positive, which I find to be very interesting because my thought is that gold is really trying to keep a bottoming formation in play, and this move is still fairly landlocked. And so I would imagine for these things to be a little bit more equal, but they're not. So there it is. All right, big news on the horizon. Well, that's been out is China has said now it's going to stop buying our soybeans. Um, they've also said they could do something with the rare earth metals, which I just put a post out that shows you why they're not really rare. But, listen, when a trade feud starts like this, and we have uh, two leaders that are very, very populist in their own countries. They want to keep building their own personal strengths. They feel like the other one is pulling away from that. And there is a bit of a tug of war here as they try to express dominance. For us, this is my main reason where I think eventually this is going to turn into a little bit more noise than signal. And we'll get on to the business of, okay, what's happening with the global slowdown? How is that going to affect fuel and all of that? All right, so that's it. Good luck trading today.